Next, we have clubs and activities. Mr. Figueroa.
Good evening, everyone. The board had a special meeting on January 26, 2016, and the board invited the community to come in to make some recommendations, suggestions about how we can do things better than we were doing them, and to, if there's anything that they wanted to see added to the programming that we currently had. At that meeting, there were several requests made to the Strategic Planning Committee, specifically the subcommittee of the extracurricular subcommittee that was headed by Ms. Becker, and of course Dr. Valesky. Chris Iannazzo was a part of that committee as well. Those requests came in overwhelmingly that the community wanted to see more clubs in our schools. So we met on April 25th and also on May 23rd to review those requests and make recommendations. If you take a look at the board, you can see that the history of the clubs have been somewhat up and down. If you can notice, on 2009, 2010, the schools had a tremendous amount of clubs. These clubs had been 12, 13, 14 at the elementary schools. Not all of them had many students in them. They had maybe some, small amounts. Wasn't really monitored that well. There was cuts by Trenton, 2010, 2011 budget. We then had made recommendations to reduce elementary clubs to 5 per school. Also, that meant 15 at the time for Hammersholt, 15 for Churchill, and then 45 for the high school. 2012 to 2013, pretty much the same thing except for one additional club at Hammersholt, which was a recommendation by PBSIS. The recommendation of the subcommittee is to add 2 additional clubs to the elementary schools, one of which we would like to see STEM or coding in each one of those schools. 5 additional clubs at Hammersholt, 2 at Churchill, and 2 at the high school. We've met with the principals on August 30th, December 7th, November 30th and December 7th to make sure that they had not only interest in additional clubs from students, but also staff that would be willing to work after school with our kids. And we've got very positive results from each one of the schools. So we're very comfortable that this would be a successful venture should the board decide to go this way.
So just historically, because most of us lived through this, between 2009 and 11, our clubs almost were cut in half in terms of number. Went from 206 to 115 across the district.
Right.
It's important because the increase now from 116 to 141, we're not getting where we were, but if the board decides to try to keep reinstating them, that's sort of what this is doing now, is to try to get closer to these levels. I don't know that we're going to get there tomorrow, but this is all in response to last January's strategic planning part.
Exact response.
Et cetera.
Yes,
Mrs. Becker.
I just wanted to say that as the board is considering this, if we decided that we couldn't add all of the suggested clubs, that Hammersholt in the elementary school would really be the priority recommendation from the subcommittee based on the overwhelming response we got from parents and students about the need for them. And then Churchill and the high school would be a third priority. Also, one thing that we had talked about when Lou mentioned small amounts of kids, we believe it's important to provide enough variety so that children have a chance to find their niche, which can help them grow and develop and feel safe. That we might offer like seminars, instead of having a club last all year long or even half a year. It would often be what kids encounter in college. They would do like a seminar for like 10 weeks or something, and then it would just keep changing. So there's a lot of different things we could do in there.
One of the things, and Ms. Becker just brought that up, besides having like quarterly courses, but also have resources shared between especially the elementary schools over time. So if they wanted to try something different, we wouldn't have to continuously buy the same things for each school, but maybe switch them out as the quarters go. It's one of the things that principals are considering now. Another piece that Ms. Becker alluded to as well, that came out of the Strategic Planning Committee, was that we're looking at not only educational components of these clubs, but also fun. Things that kids can come in and have fun, enjoy themselves, and really, get a lot out of it that way as well.
So you've mentioned STEM. Who's going to decide what these new clubs would be?
Well, one of the recommendations, I know Dr. Valesky and also Mrs. Becker were very clear on, and the principals really have picked up and enjoyed that. They all wanted to have a coding or STEM club. And in addition, they would have selected another club as well. So for instance, in elementary schools, they'd all have the coding or STEM club, and then they would have an additional club that they can choose based on student needs, student want.
Wasn't there a survey at Hammersholt amongst the kids that if they could have some clubs added, what they would like to see? Because let's face it, at that age, the kids are certainly old enough to be able to participate in the process, and they should.
We've also had activities piloted by PTAs, and so the overwhelming interest at some of those activities has really pointed us into where the community interest resides, especially in terms of coding.
And there's really nothing to stop a school from revisiting the 5 that are already in place and saying, you know what, maybe one of them's not getting the popularity that it used to have, maybe we want 3 different ones. Okay, so we're giving them some more flexibility if we go this way. Okay. Thanks.
Any questions?
So this budget is just the net budget of the increase in clubs. The ones that are already there would be in what budget? The clubs already in place
Correct.
would be located where?
They would be in the base. We generally have not had a presentation with regard to clubs and activities. This was a focus because it was an offshoot of the strategic plan.
So the base budget would still be under clubs and activities?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Lou.
All right.